This is Inkscape, which I quickly loaded this morning and had a look at a little bit of how it works. So it's very similar to other programs. What I've done here is I've brought in an image and then I've created, let's see if I can zoom in here. I've created some lines, and I was just doing this in order to see what the export qualities or export settings are that you should use. So I'll show you that in a while. Right, and so I've got the same sort of thing here. I've brought in an image, the Steers logo. I thought I'd deal with the same thing. Okay, and I was just playing around. And the thing that you need to look out for when you create these logos is to make them as simple as possible and make them as smooth as possible. So I'll just show you a method that I like using. Like if I've got, say, this S, quickly snap to the points that you want, which in something like Inkscape would be, I think, somewhat quicker if you put in guide curves, but that's something that you guys can figure out. So I'm not sketching in the curves because I try and rationalize this. So what I do is, as I'm looking at this, I can see that there are quite a few places where I can just put radii in. And then other places where I'm going to need to put in curves all the way around. So I've got this control point curve. I think, let's just hop over to Inkscape. I think in Inkscape, see, I was doing something similar here. You would use this command. I don't know if you can see with this dark background, you can see all the commands. I can't even see them properly on my screen. But then instead of using the, I think you would create regular. Yes, okay, so one of the things I discovered in importing these things is that the Spiro or Spiro lines don't work nicely with SolidWorks. B-splines probably would. So, yes, okay, so a B-spline would work, and then I think you can also use this first one. Where is it? Which is this one here. Regular Beziers, but I haven't tried B-splines as an imported thing, and as far as I can see, all you do is you click on the second button and then you can move things around, so you can get that to line up with that one. Okay, and so then I'm going to delete this line if I can. Yes, I can. Alright, so B-splines and Beziers, but not the Spiro. Okay, so then I would, this is the sort of way you do it in Inkscape. My way in here is quite similar in that I use this control point curve. And here I don't know what the similarity is between Inkscape and Rhino is, but in Rhino what you want is you want 4 points. So the starting point, second point, the third point which you start. If I put in a smart track, I can actually get it to line up, and then a fourth point. And then once you do that, you just have to make sure that these two line up. Okay, I can see they line up already because I can't scale them. But if they don't line up, then I've got tricks for making them line up, which is a little bit more complicated than the way you would have to do things, but okay, so that's lined up. Alright, so once that's established, then we can just move these in or out to get the curve the way we want it to be. So that's sort of a simple curve. See if I can repeat that. I'm not going to now adjust this too much. For the sake of time, so leave those as they are. Quickly zoom in at the bottom, do the same here. So you can see as I'm doing this, I'm trying to get the points to be to line up in vertical or horizontal lines so that we've got tangency. Well, actually, this line here that I've got, I can see is not a vertical line, but for this purposes here, it's not important. Okay, and once I've got that, the rest I can see, I've got a little command here which is very neat, where I can just put in all the fillets in one shot. So let's make that 3 and see what happens. 3 looks good. For now, I'm going to leave it as it is, and then I'm just going to explode this. You will not have to do the same thing, so I can get rid of a few of these. Right, it needs to be filled in. Okay, there's 2, that one. And then I just need to join the slide up, except for one more. Okay, so sorry about this not being that efficient. I was playing around with Inkscape quite a bit, so that sort of sucked up quite a bit of my time. Okay, I'm sure I could do this quicker. Yes, there is a quicker way. Hold on. There we go. Right, so once all my curves are in place and as I want them, although this isn't correct, I can see there's some places where it's a bit of a problem, but for now it's not an issue. So as long as they're all connected, then I know I'm good. And here you can see I've got a very limited number of control points, the minimum that I need. I could maybe do with extra ones on these larger curves. And you see it's actually put in an extra one here. Okay, so I actually have a way of checking to see that this is a closed curve. I'm sort of so used to looking at this that I can see immediately there are extra points in here. But I've got a way of checking. See if I can find it. Okay, so there's a whole lot of curves, ends, and I've got a completely closed curve. So even though this is not ideal because of these points, I could use this. I'm going to delete them because I don't want extra information. Right, so that would be good enough for what I need to do, and so that's this sort of basic process that you go through to try and limit what you're doing. So it would be a little bit more complex here. I'm not going to do all of these curves, maybe just this one, this little flame at the top here. So the basic rule is for every change of direction you should have 3 points. So let's just move these around. So you can see here there's 1, 2, 3, and then there's a change of direction, so that we count that 1, 2, 3, and then there's another change of direction, 1, 2, 3. That's if you can limit what you do to, let's get this off, to that kind of rule. So I I kind of sketch without even thinking about it anymore, and then I just go back and count. If it looks wrong, I just count and see that everything's as it should be. Okay, so those two would be good. I would then connect them, and then if you can in your program, just check to see that it's connected. Like I can select the whole thing, because what happens sometimes is I might duplicate a curve accidentally. So let's just go like this, explode. I'm just going to duplicate that one. And then that's not quite right. Right, so if I select this lot here and I join it, if I don't look carefully, if you have a look on the top left hand corner here, it says 3 corners joined into one closed curve and one open curve. If I don't look carefully and see that there's an open curve there, I might export that thing. So another way of checking that is just to move this and see, okay, there's 1, 2, oh, okay, it looks like it's actually hidden the other one. Okay, I'm not sure what's going on there, but yeah, just check that you don't have double curves. Sorry, I just need to go to the top view and just see what's going on here. Nope. Aha. Nope. Okay, I can't really figure that one out. Let's just redraw this quickly. Not that one. Right, okay, so here I've got 2 curves joined into one closed curve. Adjust that a little bit. And now I'm going to take these 2 and I'm going to export them as a DXF, and then we'll see what happens with it, because I've got the minimum number of control points. So in Inkscape, I think you would just save as. In my program, you export, so you say File, Export as, export is selected, and then I've already got my folder open, so you select DXF. And here I'm just going to say steers test, right, save, and then here is where I'm not sure, actually I can show you a little bit in Inkscape, but I'm not sure in other programs how you would control this, but you need to select the kind of scheme, if you can, where you get curves. Let's have a look at the curves. The curves, polylines, curves, and those sort of things go through as splines, if possible. So that just means that they go through as in the same way that they were created, and they don't go through as polylines, which are polylines. I actually break them up into hundreds of little individual lines, which you can't use as smooth curves. So maybe let's just do that again. And let's do a B version. And then I'm going to deliberately this time make the polylines go into polylines, curves into polylines. Save as. Sorry, I'm just making sure I don't overwrite one of my settings. So now we've got 2. We can go across to SolidWorks and have a look at what happens. Your SolidWorks is going to look different to mine because I'm using 2017 today, just because it runs much quicker, because I don't have to run it through the virtual program. So I'm going to hide these. Okay, I've actually shown them. Okay, so I've just created here a single extrusion, so it's extruded in one direction, curve, similar to the steers item that I showed you last week. And then I created a plane through 3 points, so through 1, 2, 3. I'm going to hide it, and then I offset a plane so that it's now tangent to this curve, or this plane, this curved plane. Okay, so with that selected, insert DXF. Okay, so I'm going to select this test B one first, just to show you what happens if you bring things through as a polyline. So I don't know if you remember last time, always select millimeters. At the moment I can't see what's going on, so I'm going to put white background, and you'll see there's a flat line, and the reason for that is because I created it in a different view in Rhino. Well, it's actually not. I also created in the top view, but Rhino reads the views differently. So if you get a flat line like this, just change the view and see if that gives you what it is that you made. And there you can see it does give me what I made. So I'm going to say all layers, that's fine. One thing I didn't show you last time is you can define the sketch origin, so I can actually click in here somewhere, and if I'm happy with that, say apply. Okay, and then we say finish. So you can see it's placed that sketch relative to the origin that's in SolidWorks. So I'm going to go normal 2, and you can have a look here. You can see these are all individual little segments. You can use this, but it's going to be horrible. It's going to be hundreds of segments that you don't want. In fact, in some places, absolutely dreadful. Okay, so watch out for that. If it comes through with thousands of little dots, it means you've got way more information than you need. I'm going to delete it. Get out of that sketch. And let's try that again with the smoother curve. So insert. Let's just go through that again. Select the plane, then say insert, then select DXF DWG, then select your folder and then your file. So this time it's steers test. Okay, next. And you can see you probably can't, but it's flat again. So I'm going to go to front, show you white background so that you can see what's going on, and then just zoom out. There they are. Millimeters. Next. I'm going to leave the origin point. Okay, and it's placed it for me, and now you can see immediately that this is a much cleaner sketch. So let's just move it to where we want it first, from here to here, and then instead of scaling it, I'm just going to move this separately. So look at this, they're just 2 points and it's a spline. Okay, what it's not showing is that these are not graying out, which is not a good sign, but might be okay. I'm going to exit this, and then I'm just going to test to see if it works. So I want this sketch to be wrapped onto that surface, and I want it to, remember, you could do emboss, which is going in, or you could do deboss. Sorry, emboss is coming out, yes, deboss is going in, and then scribe is just creating a line on the surface. So I want it to, what is this again? So yeah, let's emboss, and I've made it 1.2, and then this little blue window shows that you need to select something, so I'm selecting it, and it's actually happy with that because it's doing it. So it doesn't always have to show grayed out. Sometimes you can test it and see if it works, and it's done it, and there it is. and you can see those are nice clean transitions from one thing to the other. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, our meeting will end in 10 minutes, so we should be able to cover the rest of this. So what I've done is I've done some of the other versions of what happens in Inkscape, just to show you that they don't work. So I'm going to quickly pull one in and hopefully show you what you should and shouldn't use. Insert DXF. Okay, so these S&T, 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 and S&T and S, these are just versions of the same text, but I've done them in different export varieties. So this one here doesn't work. Try and do this as quickly as possible. Okay, and that's because there are too many of these points. But and there you can see thousands of them. I think this was that Spiro line. So let's check it first. So I'm going to select that, exit sketch. Where are we? Wrap. And if it does nothing when you select the face, if you've got your text selected, or if you go to wrap and you've selected the sketch, which has got here sketch 1, and you select this and no yellow line appears, then there's something wrong with your sketch. Did someone have a question? Kara, did you have a question?
Sorry for that, was just my computer doing.
No, that's okay. I'm making sure you didn't have a question. Okay, so I've got it selected. If I say OK, it's going to give me a message, a warning message, cannot be created from intersecting or open contours. I'm going to use this sketch now to show you how you can test that. So let's just go into the sketch. So I'm editing the sketch. So I'm going to delete all of these obvious problem ones, all of the ones with what do you call it? With splines. Sometimes you can delete just one of these lines and redraw it. There we go. See, it just instantly made it black. In fact, let's just backtrack and see if we can do it with either one of these. So that is a trick that I learned by accident. I've not seen anyone else use it, but I'm pretty sure someone has an explanation. Yes, that actually worked. So you can see that if when you first test it, it doesn't give you the wrap feature, then go into the sketch, select one of the straight lines, delete it, redraw it. If it turns grey, you're okay. But you can see when I do it on this one, it's not doing it. And I think even if I reintroduce a spline of some sort, let's give it a style spline. You can see it hasn't gone grey, but let's test this sketch in any case. Okay, so it's not, I'm selecting the surface, it's not showing anything, it's not working. So the problem lies with these whole sketches here. Well, that one's working, but definitely lies with the number of lines that are lying in this one here. So the way to check or to be as certain as possible inside Inkscape is let's just see. Trying to delete. It doesn't want to do it. Select. That's why. Right. Okay, so I'm going to leave these as they are. These three. Select them. And then I'll just show you what I discovered. So if you go File, Save As, and you go to, you select whichever folder you want to put it in. I've got mine set up already. You go to the bottom here and you select DXF. You need to select, I think, the R14 version, not the R12. And then this should be alright. So I'm going to keep it as this one. And then you cannot use RoboMaster. Whatever I tried using just that one, and these two together. Anytime I had the use Robo one, it didn't give me a good result. So the bottom one, which is the default one, if you use it, should work. So I'm going to replace this one, this STNT, and replace it. Go back to SolidWorks, delete this one. So I'm using now the same file, but I've actually changed its character. It's that one there. Okay, let's change millimeters. Too large otherwise. Finish. Alright, so I'm hoping this works. You can see instantly it's a lot simpler than the one I did before. Okay, let's just test it before we need to do any adjustments. So wrap. Okay, it's not working. You can see I've got the sketch selected. I've got, so here's something that you make sure that you don't use the spline surface to select your surface, because that only applies to surfaces which are curved in two directions, complex curves. So it's this wrap one. No matter what I do, it won't give it to me. So that means that there's something wrong with the sketch, and it might just be here that you have to go into it. Where am I? Sketch. And try this trick. Okay, so this one's definitely not going to work. But that one is going to work. And that one is going to work. So I know that this one's the problem one, and it's got to do with, well, I suspect it's got mostly to do with these splines. There's too many points on here. Something about it, you can see here, these are separate splines. What you really want is one big spline. You could go and redraw that. So you could go like this and just redraw your spline using the same points. So I'm going to shortcut this. There we go. You can see it's closed. So it's got to do with the actual spline quality in here. If I delete all of these, so it really wasn't this spline, it was just one of the others. Alright, so hopefully that gives you some tips in creating these. They can be tricky, but if everything is grayed out, then you're almost guaranteed. I better not speak too soon, but let's have a look. I haven't tested this yet. Doesn't like that. Okay, so there's an open curve there somewhere. I think it's got to do with this one here. Maybe that I have to redraw those bits as well. But if I go into this sketch quickly and delete just that sketch, just this bit here, see there was a duplicate there. So if I Control Z, so that's another way you can check things. If you delete one part of it, there we go. There's a little segment which was interfering. So it may be. Let's see. It should be that we can use this to wrap. There we go. We can use it to wrap. So there was that tiny segment that was giving problems. So this is where this can get a little bit tricky, in that you've got to find out what's going wrong with the sketch. But if you do as I've suggested with my sketch here, and make it as simple as possible and make sure everything's joined, then you shouldn't have problems. So we've got less than a minute left.